I'm so sorry, everybody. I hit the wrong button and we went live way earlier. Welcome to The Modern Romantic, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism by featuring passionate people doing incredible things. Hi, I'm Emily. Only Emily today. My talented co-host Trey could not be here tonight as he was invited to chat on a really fabulous podcast. So today it's just me, all alone. So I'll dive right in and introduce my guest for tonight. It took me a minute to prepare for this, so bear with me while I really do this some justice. Picture this. By day, he's a training content designer extraordinaire, carefully curating training materials to elevate minds. But come the fall of twilight, he dons his cape, not just a metaphorical one. And he transforms into the vocal wizard, serenading the stars with a voice that could charm the grumpiest dragon. A master's degree holder from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Trey's voice carries the tales of fate and whimsy like a modern-day bard, but with a wicked karaoke twist that could give even Freddie Mercury a run for his sequins. Or just, ask him to sing Baby Got Back. This means he's not just singing in the shower good. He's like singing in 5 different languages while balancing on one leg good. Growing up in the 90s, his earliest influences were animated wonders like Totoro and Ariel, but don't let that Disney nostalgia fool you. He's got a knack for going big, bad, and downright interesting on stage. Remember that time he played the Big Bad Wolf? Well, let's just say he made wolves trendy again. And if that wasn't enough, he's also a fashion-forward DIY maven who sews his own costumes. So move over, Project Runway. I mean, they already have because it's kind of over. But anyway, but move over, Project Runway, because Trey Pittman is in the house.
Thank you. That is an incredible introduction, and I need to bring you along just to do the introductions. So please come with me the next time I have to do a presentation.
That would be amazing. I would love that. I would love that.
I am so honored to be on the podcast today. Not as co-host, but as the featured guest. I am honestly really excited.
I'm so glad that you're excited. I wish you could have met my co-host, but I'm really glad to have you here regardless. And good evening, no doubt, Big Trout. So anyway, I wanted to ask you if you wanted me to read that other intro, or should I just go from here?
It made me laugh so much because I love the way you delivered it. So yes, I would love for you to read that other introduction.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just make this night go on forever. This intro. Excuse me. So let me pull that back up. Okay, here we go. Prepare to be amazed, amused, and slightly bewildered as we introduce Trey, our very own Renaissance jest master of the Modern Romantic podcast. By day, he's the purveyor of training content, molding young minds and old minds, and preparing them for a future of, training content. But when the moon rises and the stars align, Trey transforms into something truly magical. The karaoke commando. With a master's degree in hand from the illustrious University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Trey is like a modern-day bard. But instead of lutes and sonnets, he wields a microphone and a playlist filled with musical gems. His singing voice is so enchanting that birds stop chirping to listen and cats break into spontaneous applause. Trust us, we've seen it happen. Born smack dab in the heart of the 90s, Trey's veins practically course with neon-colored nostalgia. He's seen it all from dial-up internet to the heyday of Tamagotchis. If Studio Ghibli and Disney had a fusion dance, Trey would be the result. A whirlwind of creativity, animated wonder, and perhaps a dash of cat bus for good measure. And did we mention that he's a costume-making maverick? Trey sews his own outfits, which isn't just practical. It's a declaration of independence from the humdrum world of off-the-rack fashion. We're just waiting for the day he graces the stage in a custom-made, sequin-studded karaoke cape. So join us for a roller coaster ride through nostalgia, song, and more laughs than you could shake a tickle me Elmo at. Welcome to the podcast, Trey Pittman.
It is so nice to be introduced not only once but twice. I wish that we could do that for every guest.
I could write two for that would take, some time, but I could write two for every guest.
Okay.
Yeah, I could just be like, here are your two. Pick one, and
then we'll read both.
And then we'll just they don't really get a choice.
Or whichever one they pick, we just choose the opposite one. Like that person did to me at karaoke, gave me two song choices. I chose one, and they started playing the other one.
Did you know the other one?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
I knew the person doing like leading karaoke night, and it was two songs from Six the Musical. And I was like, I'm not sure which one to sing. And so she goes, okay, A or B. A is this song, B is this song. So I went with A. And when I got up there, I was all ready because the music is starting. I'm going to go, and it's the other song.
Oh, man. I don't think I mean, as someone who doesn't sing karaoke, or I can't say I don't sing at all because of Jen Beaupre. She'd probably kill me. She's probably not listening. Hopefully not. But anyway, yeah, it's hard enough to just get up there. I can't see having my song changed up to one that I may not know as well. That sounds horrible.
It was actually kind of fun, and it was one of those spur of the moment things. And it was, you just had to go with it. Like in theater, just like things happen, so you just have to roll with the punches, and you just gotta switch gears. It's not the right song. Just keep going. Like, makes no sense for the musical. Doesn't matter. Keep going.
Like, the ABCs can be sung to anything.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, you have a diverse background, and like we've known each other for a long time, but I really don't know anything about you. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So I tried to like think of things to talk about with you that were like, because I think the audience should know your secrets, but also like asking the questions about things or talking to you about things that I already know felt like challenging a little bit, because I thought, well, I know this, but coming from my angle, this was a curious process. We'll say that.
Okay.
So, and hopefully I can make it just as a curious a process for you. But you have like a diverse background in like vocal performance and theater, and now podcasting and training content. And can you share a pivotal moment or experience that like really ignited your passion for the arts specifically?
Ooh, what a really good question.
I can make extra hand gestures in the meantime, because I seem to be doing that a lot today.
No, that is a really good question. I really don't know what, like, if I have a singular moment. It's been kind of an amalgamation of experiences. Like I've been this incredibly emotional being. Like I'm very sensitive to emotions and just having big feelings. Like nothing about me is ever small. No response is ever short. So arts has always been kind of the way to get that out for me, even from like little kid. Mom still has VHS tapes of me making my directorial debut of my parents standing behind a couch and holding up like handmade puppets. And me like directing them, be like, no, this goes over here. No, you're doing it wrong. And then all the way up into like high school, I was doing madrigal dinners with my choir. I played the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. So it's just been experience after kind of experience of coming back to the theater because it's that place I feel at home. And it's a place in my avenue where I can get out these big emotions, be able to talk through things, and really have a good sense of myself.
Interesting. I think it's cool that you had such a grasp of what you wanted to see to direct at a young age. That's interesting because not everybody has that or has that vision, you know. So interesting. And do you find yourself doing that now? Do you do that with me all the time?
No,
This
but
is
I find
wrong.
myself I find myself doing that more now with like training content.
Mm.
Um, there's I don't talk about it a lot, and I share this more from just kind of like a peek behind the curtain kind of experience. My dad wound up passing when I was like 9, and yes, I promise this as a point. Um, for me, I didn't really start to connect really deeply with theater, I would say probably until I was in college, and really started to work through some of those songs and really have to look into characters. And it was one of those sorts of moments that was just kind of eye opening to really start to see some of myself in these characters and start to see elements of, oh, okay, well, okay, well, that's kind of like me. And that kind of reminds me of this. And this kind of reminds me of this. And it was always that thing to kind of come back to in character work to just say, oh, well, that's really interesting. And it probably hasn't been up until like the last couple of years where I've really fleshed out my artistic eye, whether it be with cosplay, whether it be with training content, writing up a storyboard to send to our graphic designer to work through, or kind of parsing out the way that training content kind of flows. Um, it's taken a lot of time to get there because of some of these things. Just because I felt just kind of blinded by other things, and then arts have kind of really come back and helped me have a much more defined eye, or for what I'm particularly looking for.
Sure. Awesome. And you've had a lot of time to to work through and process both singing, vocal performance, and theater, and you
Mhm.
know through your life now. And um, I guess I'm wondering if you've had any particularly challenging performances in either that have really pushed your creative boundaries.
Ooh, um, yes. There are two performances that I can think of. One was when I was at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln singing Superintendent. No, Superintendent what? Oh gosh, I've forgotten his character name already. Um, Singing Bud from Albert Herring.
Okay.
Albert Herring is like a more contemporary opera than anything that I've ever really sung before. It's full of these really challenging harmonies, meters that are not exactly lining up. So, like, I would be singing a certain rhythm and in certain keys in my own vocal range and the way that it was written out for me. And meanwhile, the orchestra is playing something almost completely different. And over time, they kind of like come together. But it's always this like, it was always this kind of disjointed sort of feeling to listen to the music and go, where do I fit in with that?
Fascinating.
Um, the other one was for me, The Nasty Interesting Man. And the way that that show was developed, The Nasty Interesting Man is essentially Hades. And Hades throughout the show, Eurydice by Sarah Rule, he comes back in like three different guises. The first one that you see is the adult, the very classy, like tempter of people and purveyor of curiosities, we'll just say. And then we see him come back more as like childlike and more playful. And then we see what we would think of like the Lord of Hell being this demonic looking figure. And the thing about that made it so challenging was that all my dialogue was recorded. The thing that the director wanted to do is have my mouth not move at all, my body still move in time with that, and I still make like facial gestures, I still make hand gestures for things, but my mouth never moved. So it would be interacting with somebody, them not be able to read my lips, and I'm not saying the dialogue because it's already pre-recorded.
Hmm.
So I have to make the performance different for myself or find those moments without being able to say the words. And then that also poses a challenge for my fellow actors to then have to turn around and have to do their performance slightly different to dialogue that they've heard umpteen million times up until this point.
Wow. So I guess, did you find that you were able to take something from that to apply that to your, your future acting abilities or your future roles?
I think at the time, no, and I'm going to be really honest. There, like as an actor, we're always growing and thinking through things, but staying present throughout your performances is incredibly challenging. And I don't think that I was always present for that. So I would say at the time, no, but looking back on it, yes. Because when you start to feel complacent with either a performance or something that you're saying to somebody, it can get boring for yourself and it can get boring for the audience. So knowing when to like check in and say, how am I doing? Oh, this sounds a little boring. Okay, time to bring in a little bit more energy, time to
Yeah,
bring up a little bit, bring it up for the audience, and really have that mental reset with yourself.
absolutely. Did you ever bomb? Maybe
Oh
not that
God,
performance, but like others?
yes, actually,
Yeah?
when I was playing, it was like one of our last weekends playing Nasty Interesting Man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the child and the demonic figure that I was describing, the demonic figure was set on this body harness, so I had to wear like a full-bodied puppet from here up. The head was apparently detachable, and it was connected to these big arms. Well, somehow the way that it was resting, the head had become detached. So when I leaned down to go through the little archway to get into the stage, the head fell off. And like arms, like in full view of the audience, just everything fell apart in front of them. So I scrambled for about solid 20 seconds to grab the head and then run out on stage with just a skeleton body and this demonic head, and that's the only thing that I could articulate throughout the entire performance.
Ah, crazy.
Um,
No. No. But how do you get through that? Like, how do you, like, recover from that? Do you, like, what do you tell yourself?
I'm worthless and I go cry in a corner.
No. I mean, it's
um,
possible, but I feel like that's not entirely you.
no, it is for about like 5 seconds, and then I'm like, all right, how do we get over this?
Yeah.
And it was like that thing in theater where you always have to check your props, always go make sure that your costumes, which that's technically a costume, is in working order, it's connected, everything's good to go. And then you check in with your director and you say, okay, this happened. What do you recommend? So having conversations and verbalizing it are really effective, no matter where you are, whether it be corporate or in the theater.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's valuable. Um, and your love for like Studio Ghibli and Disney films is at this point well known. And
Yes.
how do you think that's influenced your like your approach to art and storytelling and your style now?
Because God, you're asking like really great questions. Like
Thank
you've accomplished what you set out to do.
you.
Um,
You know what we should
so,
do?
like
We should start a
what?
podcast.
We should, and then wait 8 years to get this podcast started.
I know. Set your timers now.
Um, so growing up in the 90s, I would say is like to your introductions is so pivotal for me that I grew up in a time where Disney had its renaissance of storytelling. The thing that I love about both Disney and Studio Ghibli, or however you pronounce it, they both approach it from a standpoint of there's something for everybody. While they may market it to family, their level of storytelling is always geared towards everybody. There are jokes that go over kids' head. There are jokes that land for kids, but not so much for the adults. But the one thing that I love about Studio Ghibli more is that they're really not afraid of talking about maybe more sensitive content. And I think that maybe has to do more with the culture in which those movies originate, that they don't really shy away from some of those maybe darker topics of things. Um, because there's a lot to be found in that, again, for everybody. And so for me in storytelling, I don't really shy away from some of those maybe darker themes of things. I don't like to dwell on that because kind of like Alice and the like crying a river of tears, there becomes that moment of you just kind of drown in that level of depression. And so you touch on it, or I touch on it, I talk about it, I work through it and telling that story. And at the end of it, I've had a journey of my own through the process of telling that story.
Love that. You get to relive the parts you love.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Go.
oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No.
No, no, go.
There's a fight for you. Fight with you for this. um, if you're juggling a day job, because a lot of artists do that. A lot more than people probably realize, juggle like a day job with creative pursuits. And I'm wondering, because you actually have several creative pursuits, much like myself, that's relatable. But it becomes kind of a balancing act. So what do you think is a key to you balancing those things or maintaining that equilibrium, or at least staying creatively ener- energized wasn't the word I was thinking, but I'm going to go with that.
Um,
Inspired maybe, or motivated. That's the word I was looking for. Motivated.
I'm not gonna lie, it's challenging for sure. There are days that I come home and I'm like so mentally exhausted that I just want to like lay on the couch and not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing that's honestly kept me motivated has been one, that sense of progress in watching myself do it. Anybody who follows me on Instagram, that's the app I'm thinking of, has been kind of sticking along for the journey of me making my Renaissance costumes. And with every little thing that I kind of watch, I watch the vision in my head start coming to fruition. I start watching that thing that was just a semblance of an idea, like a twinkle in the stars of my brain, and start to formulate, and that dust of the stars starts to become malleable and like in the palm of my hand. And I watch the stardust become a fully fledged like living thing, well maybe not living thing, but a fully realized concept in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to see that final product in my hand is so glorious. The other thing, like the second thing that kind of keeps me motivated, is having a really good support group. Um, there are like, I was running into an issue with the cape that I had being made out of velvet. Like the lining started falling out and just like a whole mess of problems. And I really just kind of wanted to chunk it across the room. And like you've given me support, and you've given me sewing tips for things. Seth, and I'm sure that our listeners will have heard me talk about Seth, whom I love dearly, is also really good about motivating. Like, no, this is fine. Like this looks incredible. And it's like those hearing something come from another person to say, "You're in your head. Stop it. Stop it." And let me give you from my perspective, um, and to really just say it's just beautiful. Hi, cause.
Hi, Kaz.
Um,
Tonight we're chatting with Mr. Trey Pittman. Trey couldn't be here tonight as a co-host, so it's just me interviewing this guy here, Trey Pittman. You
which
can
I go
go
ahead.
ahead. No.
Which I think, in point of fact, this is the first time I've actually said my last name on the podcast. I think every other time up until now, I've only ever said my first name.
That's possible, and I think that was intentional at one point, but I didn't know how to have an episode without your last name.
Yeah. I'm not like Zendaya, and I'm not like any other person that just goes by singular name. I can't do that. Um,
We could have made up a stage name for you, but
no, no,
Trey
because
got
people would be
downgraded. We'll tell Ming's.
okay. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut this out later. So I don't even know
um,
what we're talking about now.
ways to keep motivated.
Oh
Um,
yeah, like balancing because you work full time and you have creative things, and I know what that's like. So
yeah. So one, seeing the finished product for myself. Two, having like a really good support group who can kind of give me some perspective on things. And when I really need a sounding board for something, like, does this work? Like, is this good? And then you can kind of give your opinions on things of like, maybe you should try this, or no, I love this. Um, what was really funny was with the pants that I had originally made. Got the pants all sewed, put them all together, put them up under my doublet behind me. You see it very blurry behind me. Put
mm-hmm.
it up there, and and I started going, ooh, maybe this doesn't look good. And I turned to Seth, and I said, Seth, are these good? And he said, and I quote, honestly, they look kind of drab. I mean, you have this incredible doublet, and then these pants are just drab. And that's honestly the honesty that I needed for something like that, to then turn around and make the really sparkle pants that I have currently sitting on my sewing table at the moment.
Are they made with
Uh,
Freddie Mercury's sequins?
they're not made with Freddie Mercury sequins, but they are made with metallic that glistens in the sun, darling. Um, I think the third thing that helps me stay motivated is making sure that I maintain like a good work-life balance for things. I get to be creative in a different capacity at work, and then when I start coming up with all of these ideas, it'll inspire. Um, oh my God, sparkle pants. At least I'm not like fancy pants or dancy pants that we came up with.
Oh, that's Ryan. Yeah. We haven't had Ryan on the podcast, but maybe one day. It was something dancy pants. Yeah, I forget. Oh, I'll have to look back through text messages. Anyway, go ahead.
Um, so like at work, like I get to be super creative and think through things in a different way. And then when I have this idea for something, and then it's like, oh, okay. When I get home, I could do like maybe this was something, and it inspires me to do it like that. And I'm so fortunate to have like managers and people who really care about that work-life balance, who also follow me on Instagram, who then
Oh,
talk to me about my work at work. And they're
that's
like,
awesome.
it's oh God, it's so good. So finding who is in your support group, um, seeing the finished product, and then having a good work-life balance really helps me stay motivated.
I
And
could see that. Yeah.
partially time management, I would
Hmm.
say. Um, know know how long it's going to take you to do this project, or set it up almost like it's a project. I say that because with the current Renaissance costume, I started saying that 8 months ago that I was going to start working on it, and didn't start working on it really until about 4 months into it. And so now I'm hitting that like con crunch, and we're just like mad dashing to get stuff done.
Would you say this Renaissance costume you're making now is one of your bigger endeavors in costuming?
Oh, 100%.
Mm.
100%. It's one of the most complicated, most detailed things that I have ever worked on so far. Between the pants itself, just on the pants, it is 2 yards of base fabric with um, about a yard and a half of this like Dupioni silk sewn on top of it in strips, and then about 30 yards of trim sewn onto all of that to layer that. And that's just the pants. With the doublet, it's this like brocade fabric and sleeves, and you have grommets all over it, and then you've got these clip ties for things. So you can go check out my Instagram. I'm going to start making a story, and then I'll post something to YouTube later talking about the full thing. But in a nutshell, there has been a lot of time and a lot of effort that has gone into making this, and I'm very proud of it. So there.
You should be. It is amazing. It is amazing. And it's good that it's getting a little cooler out so that you're not having to murder yourself in 95 plus degree weather wearing this because of the layers and everything. But that's going to be great. That's going to be
Yeah.
great. Um, you've had a couple design changes in it though, which I think is just kind of normal. I believe
Mhm.
that's normal. Especially because your design changes have been incredibly incredible improvements. Compare like you went from drab to sparkle what Thumbelina Dancy Pants sparkle pants.
Yes.
Sassy pants.
Trey Pants
Mhm.
Pittman.
Yeah. So if you look back at like where your current where this costume could have been and where it
Mhm.
is now, this is remarkable.
Yeah, and it's again, it kind of goes back to that support group, because support doesn't always mean positivity. Sometimes it means a hard dose of reality. Um, and sometimes things don't work or they don't look good. I've been in plenty of theater shows where costumes are like separately cool, together, what the crap? No. So you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what's kind of the thing that I'm really going for, and what's really going to make this work? Talking about the Renaissance costume, um, there was actually something that inspired me that you had actually said and brought up whenever we were working together at a store. And on the like the doublet, there's these big, large patterns, and they're incredibly ornate. And I have always been so afraid to do like two patterns against each other. But the thing that you had said is you can get away with doing two patterns together as long as one of them is smaller than the other one.
Mhm.
But it has to coordinate. Like you can't just put anything together and make it coordinate. If you go with a larger pattern, whatever's going with it has to be a smaller pattern. And Seth actually mentioned doing like striped pants. He's like, well, what if you just did like these striped pants? Because like pantaloons have those stripes on them in Renaissance costumes. So what if you do something like that instead? So at first, I tried to go find these striped pants with red and with gold and with these other things. Oh God, I see comments. We could write our own play. The Modern Romantic presents Sassy Pants, The Life and Times of Trey.
I'm on board with this screenplay or play.
Same,
Mm-hmm.
same. But I need to get the guy who wrote Schitt's Creek to come write the script for us.
Mm-hmm.
I need him to come write this play.
Well, there's Dan Levy who wrote a lot of it, but we'll have to figure that out. And I think that would make for a great episode. We'll read that script.
100%.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I have insider information, and I'm just gonna share it and then edit this out of the podcast later. And that is,
Okay.
we have coming up. We have not announced it yet. A Midsummer Night's Dream Shakespeare script reading, like we did way at the very beginning of our podcast, that is scheduled for October 8th. It is a Sunday. It's a special Sunday episode, and it'll probably be early afternoon. So I just want to share that with you because you have the opportunity to come watch and be part of this amazing. We've got some amazing people. There's going to be more than last time. Yeah, it's going to be great. Anyway, so sorry for that sidestep.
No, good Lord. Oh, where was I?
We
Uh,
kind of just derailed. I was going to ask you about, because we were talking about costuming.
yeah.
But
Um,
really, oh, go ahead.
oh, no, I think the question was about like design changes for things. Just to kind of summarize the next couple of steps, it was trying to go find this specific pants that I was looking for, and nothing really was panning out. And so it was trying to think through and be innovative of what is going to work with this vision and how do I make it kind of coordinate, kind of landing on where I am now.
Heck yeah. We're loving it. Can't wait to see it all together, though. That's going to be amazing. So watch the Instagram, Orphytunes, ORPHYTUNES, for that.
Mhm.
And that's the same name on YouTube for you as well.
Correct.
So back to like your stage stuff. You've
Mhm.
taken kind of a hiatus.
Yeah.
So what would you say excites you the most about potentially returning to the stage, to make some kind of theatrical comeback? Are there any specific roles or productions that you're itching to explore in the future?
Yes, I would love to play Christine Daae in the Phantom of the Opera. No, not really. Um,
That was
I
an interesting visual. Thank you.
That's more or less a shout out to one of my coworkers, Lee, who randomly had a dream about me playing Christine Daae in Phantom of the Opera. Please don't ask me for details because he didn't give me any. It was just that was the statement, and that's kind of where we left it. Um, so, are there any roles or anything? No, I'm more so just kind of excited to get back on the stage. Um, the we talked a little bit ago about staying motivated for things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that self motivation just kind of is not present. Like as a singer, um, there have been lots of times that I've been told no or I've been declined for things. Um, cause I'm going to get back to that comment in a second, um, where I've been told no for things. And when you hear no for so many times, you kind of start just beating yourself down. So when the pandemic came around, and kind of forced everybody into finding like new hobbies or DIY things in their own house, for me, it was a good time for me to kind of self-reflect and go, what do I actually want to do? And it was a good opportunity for me to look at the state of the world and the state of where I wanted my performing career to be. And for so much of my vocal career, all I've thought about is opera, 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 opera. And as much as I love musical theater and I love just like regular plays, I had never really considered doing that or doing voiceover for anything really until the pandemic forced everybody just to kind of look in the mirror and go, what do I actually want to do? And it was that self realization of that I just want to be singing for myself. I want to explore different things. I don't always want to do opera. I would like to have the ability to step out of that box and be able to be a cross, what word am I trying to think of? Just a very multifunctional singer. So I've started exploring more jazz repertoire. I've started exploring more pop repertoire. How do I make my voice sound a little bit more in that pop styling, courtesy of Jen Beaupre in one of our previous episodes? Um, so it's really start to explore things that I want to do, and I don't have a panel of judges standing in front of me going, "You're not really articulating that ah vowel very well at here," or "We don't really see you as this character. We're going to put you into the ensemble," or "No, no." I don't have any of that. I get the artistic control to be able to say, I don't really care. This is what I want to do. And I've found a lot more motivation by doing projects that I'm passionate about and finding the direction that I want to pursue.
That makes me personally happy to hear that. Um, I remember going to karaoke with you and you saying something about how pop is kind of hard. Pop music, that is. And
Yeah.
I was like, you have a master's in vocal performance, sir. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Me being a non-singer at the time. And so, um, like, it makes sense that, like, I get it now. You explained it to me. But I feel like I always kind of wanted you to, like, I was like, no, but if you just branch out a little bit. And that sounds worse than what I really maybe was thinking at the time, but it was really more like you have so much ability inside you and so much talent and so much more that you could do. I thought I would love to see one day Trey attempt other things with his voice. And so this is really cool to hear. And I
I
mean that in
never
a
knew that.
super positive way. Yeah, thank you. Um,
I, I really never knew that.
well,
It's, oh,
I'm
well,
not the type of person that tells people what they should be doing with their lives.
no, but talking about just
you
our friendship
what
in general,
you just did something that made it very difficult to hear you. Like it's like you covered up your mic.
is my mic set to the wrong thing again?
It might
Oh
be.
my, yes, it is. One second. Hello?
Yeah, same.
Still the same?
Yeah. Well, it's at least really quiet.
Okay.
Oh, that was better.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, that's really great.
Okay. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I had it on the wrong input this whole time. Um,
I just need to turn you up a little, which I can do.
okay.
There. Say something now.
Something
Yeah,
now.
we're good.
Yay!
Um, by the way, before you say anything, Unhinged Theater sounds like a great title. Because Kaz said that's why this is why guys keep me around. And I said, Unhinged Theater sounds like a great title. And Kaz said, I need What If for theater, but make it unhinged. Feel like that would become a major Broadway set. And Josh said, yep, this is going to be great. Modern Romantic presents Unhinged Theater. Each week a new chapter. Chapter 1, Sassapants. Chapter 2, How to Storm a Castle. Yeah, I think we'd all love for Trey to get a voice acting gig. An audiobook, yes. And if you have not heard this ability Trey has. You have to go to YouTube not right now. Listen to the podcast first. That is important. Your listening actually helps us keep going. But immediately after, go to YouTube and look up Orphe Tunes, the channel. And you're going to want to tune in first to the Eurydice story. That's my personal pick. There are a few up there. But, like, go for Eurydice first. And then you can go from there wherever you want. I mean, and like I said, I just started to say how I'm not into telling people what they should be doing with their life. But for this, I am.
And oh god, that was such a good story. But kind of getting back to that thing of not wanting to tell people what to do, I think that's one of those like respect things that I would have respected you quite a bit for being honest with me and saying like, I really wish you would, because I would really love to see that. So that's kind of a thing for anybody who's out there who's got a friend that they would love to see them do that. I think it's difficult to tell an artist like, I would love to see you do this, because the other person has to see them in the ability to do that. And sometimes they can't see themselves doing that until they're made aware that that's a possibility. Like, I see this vision for you. I think you could have a lot of success doing it.
We should make that a thing. Let's do that for each other.
I love that. I can see you winning $1 million.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
That is not what I expect you to just say, and I love it. Time to play the lottery, maybe.
Yay!
I could see you getting a really excellent voice acting gig.
Oh, thank you. I can see you being contacted to shoot for Vogue.
Oh, what that did to my brain. Yeah, okay. I mean, they've got some money, so.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd do that for free at this point.
No, you would not do that for free.
Not just for the opportunity to say I shot for Vogue. Once upon a time, I would have. And I've heard of people getting paid very low amounts of money to do it because Vogue knows that. I probably shouldn't speak out against Vogue at this point in time, but thank you.
No problem.
So I'm wondering how much, because the podcast is something very different for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of have this unique platform because not only are we up here kind of telling stories, we're kind of telling other people's stories. And we're just like naturally curious people, and we get it when it comes to art and the struggles and all of that. Mm-hmm. The basic things that everybody can relate to or experiences generally. So I'm wondering, like, how your background in your various forms of storytelling, vocal performance, acting, etc., have influenced or affected your approach to hosting and making this podcast happen.
Okay, seriously, you and I need to sit down and I need to understand your level of like writing questions for things. This is okay. These are great questions.
Thank you. You say this like we don't actually do the podcast together at all.
No, but like
we to the podcast, Trey Pittman.
But we separately write questions for things, or we talk maybe about it after the fact. For me, with other guests, I had an English teacher once say, the most important thing that a writer can say is, I butchered that quote.
That's okay.
What an author says in his novel is just as important what he doesn't say. And if you had the opportunity to ask him what he didn't put in that book, what would you ask him? So there are so many avenues of a world that we don't get to read, we don't get to see, we don't get to experience. And that doesn't mean that the story just stops at that point. Like you look down a road and you can only see it go to the horizon line, but so far. That doesn't mean that the road just stops. It keeps going. So whenever we're asking questions of our listeners because of that curiosity for me, I want to explore that because there's a story there. Whether it be a short story or the next like Iliad and Odyssey, I don't know. But until we walk that path, how are we ever going to find out? How are we ever going to know what that story is? And it could completely color the rest of who that person is in a completely different light because it informed a choice that they made to get them to where they are now. So ask the question that many may have not.
So, do you take a bath with bath toys?
Sometimes, yes, actually.
Okay, great. Do you have those little foam alphabet letters you can stick on the side of the tub?
No.
I was
But
trying to think of a question that you wouldn't expect. We haven't
but
gone down
oddly,
this road before, Trey.
but I mean, oddly, like once upon a time when I had a bathroom, like a bathroom, I can't think of what that is, a shower wall that
Mm.
you could like, just like a shower tub wall that extended up.
Mm-hmm.
I actually once upon a time bought those crayons that work inside the bathtub,
Oh yeah,
and like just would like doodle every now and then, because it washes right off.
sure. Oh, I thought there was going to be more to it. Like, oh, and it turns out I bought the wrong crayons and they were real crayons. And I wrote all over the, like I was waiting to hear that. It turns out I bought permanent markers. And
Oh God, no, no. I actually bought like the right kind of shower crayons.
Josh said, what about rubber ducks? Do you need any rubber ducks? We happen to have a surplus of rubber ducks.
Josh, I sent Emily most of those rubber ducks, especially the ones that were like the Pegasus ones or like the unicorn ones. So
Mm-hmm.
I know you did. I know you know I did. Let's see. Boots on the Trail said, none of us are surprised by the crayons.
Yeah.
I would hope not. I would hope not.
Um, but my actual question, I believe, was your background in vocal performance influencing your approach to hosting and creating. Was that was your answer, or was that in reference to my question or
I think
questioning?
um that's kind of that was in response to that
Okay.
from like a vocal standpoint. Um, Going back to the character Bud in Albert Herring, like when you get the text, like we're whenever you're prepping for a play and you
Okay.
need to make decisions about a character,
Mm-hmm.
there are there should be like hints in the dialogue that kind of inform your choices as a person, and you start having to ask yourself questions. Where was he? What was he just doing? What happened when he was 16 that you kind of have to answer as you're building this character. And for a character like Bud, there's nothing there. So you get to make up a lot of who this character is and your own interpretation because there's not a lot of supportive text. When it comes to like our guests, they may have their website, they may have some supporting materials to tell us a little bit about who they are, but there's also still a person behind that. The materials are not the only thing that can tell us about a person. They may say how they are artistically, but that doesn't mean it's the entirety of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
So, and so asking them questions that are related but expound on that to kind of flesh part of that out and maybe go down the road less traveled and explore an avenue that they didn't expect that's what really, for me, gets into quality storytelling. And that also gets into having a moment where they go, "Oh my God, you read about that? Oh my God, let me tell you all about this." And you watch them light up on camera.
Yep. Yep. The deep dive.
Yes.
um so who inspires you?
Who?
Yeah, who?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say you. Um, like it's not to get too emotional about it, but like it's I would not be doing this podcast or have continued if it were not for you. Like I would not have asked certain questions. I would not be where I am without you. So you have been a really big inspiration. Um, uh, musically and artistically, um, I'm really inspired by Hosier and people like Sarah Bareilles.
Hmm.
Um, both of them, earlier I mentioned, I'm a person with big emotions. I don't have any short phrases for things. That's kind of who I am. Um, the thing that really inspires me about them is they are both very vocal about their past experiences for things, and they're both very particular about the way in which they craft music. And so they inspire me because they're witty. It's clear that they both read an incredible amount. Like Hosier's new album, some of the songs are actually based off of Dante's Inferno.
Mm.
Uh, and so they inspire me as like people and as musicians, just in the way that they craft music and the way that they think about things lyrically. And I also really like Stephen Sondheim, both as a person and as like as a composer. He's incredibly witty. He has this eye for storytelling where there are things in his songs that you don't expect to flesh out characters, and you just kind of cock your head to the side and go, "Huh, that's an interesting line," or "That's an interesting way that's phrased. Why would he do that?" And it leads you like breadcrumbs to go and kind of pick at the song a little bit more until you start to flesh out the character that he had written beneath it, or a version of the character that was inspired by the way that he framed his songs. So a lot of different people, but a lot of musicians for being witty and the way that they frame different things.
Yeah. Um Outside of people, what are some things that or I guess I should say, like, what fuels you? That's kind of the question I like to ask more, because sometimes inspiration can be found in many places, but maybe fueling you is a better question. To be creative.
Oh, I don't think I've ever really thought about it. So forgive me if I'm just going to talk this answer out for a
Do it.
second.
No, I love that. I think that's important for people to hear too, because I think that's something that people don't always consider, that you, as an artist, you might need. Well, I'm not even going to say it that way. As an artist, you need to fuel that creativity somehow. You might be inspired by Studio Ghibli or Disney or whatever else. What was the other one? I can't remember it now. It was earlier in the Sassy Pants. Something like, you might be inspired by something like that, but like, and obviously there has to be motivation and execution too. But like,
Mhm.
taking the purposeful time and purposeful effort to go get input when you're doing output, or to do output, if that makes sense. Like, I can design amazing, and that sounds arrogant, but I didn't mean it, but I can design amazing gowns all day long if I'm fueled. So what fuels me? Am I seeing other gowns? Am I watching a movie? Am I out in nature?
Um, I don't think it's one thing. I am inspired by so many different things, or I am fueled by so many different things. When I see something, I have to just, I see it and then I ask myself a question, and the question is always different. And it is like, oh, and it's the birth of an idea. Like that singular implant of an idea that then just starts to grow like a seed inside of my brain into this like fledgling of a pod, and watching the pod become a flower, and so on and so forth along that like foliage metaphor. It just hits me. I could be reading a book, I could be watching a TV show, I could be watching a movie, and then something all of a sudden just inspires me. One of the biggest places I would say for like my cosplay or my sewing, um, I have this very unhealthy habit of like looking at the Simplicity or McCall pattern website so much, um, to look at maybe a pattern, and I just kind of go, if I changed this and I changed that, that would almost work for, oh my God, yes, by pattern, go look up fabric, ba 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 ba. And it starts whooshing into this sort of thing, but it always starts out in the most random of places, to start out as just an idea of what if, and then watch that become this incredible journeying of whatever artistic thing that is then going to follow afterwards.
I'm just going to keep nodding for our listeners who can't see me.
um, so I don't know. I don't want to pin it down, but at the same time, now you had kind of had me spinning of like, what is it? So I will get back to you a more definitive answer, but I hope for now that answer kind of suffices.
Right. And I didn't mean to sound like you have to purposefully fuel yourself, but I know many artists that do. Brooke Shaden was one of them. She purposefully reads immense amounts of material and books, novels, etc. She fills her mind purposefully to go create, not because she is trying to influence her creativity specifically with the same imagery. It's more about those things inspire her to go create. So, and I've heard of other artists and people who purposefully input to output, if that makes sense in a more simplistic manner. So, I don't believe everybody has to. I go through immense dry spells of, I think there's an ebb and flow, too, as well. And seasons and all kinds of things affect that. So
I will say that I like a varied amount of content. Like I can't just read, or I can't just watch movies or something like that and be inspired. I find myself doing different things because I will get tired of something very quickly, and then I will look at something else. And then that will kind of keep me going in that forward momentum of things. And then along the way, I'll pick up something, and then that spurs the, well, what if? And that kind of leads me to something.
Of course. So tell me about your podcast and how that got started.
Well, it all started in an unnamed men's haberdashery 8 years ago, with Emily Kramer and Trey Pittman standing around a table, putting shirts together and saying, "Gee, I think we're funny. We should have a podcast." Then, 8 years later, Emily messaged Trey and said, "Hey, we're putting on a podcast. Join me."
We're going to do it for reals this time. Right. And here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. Many bumps, and we've put out more episodes this year so far than we did last year.
Which, can we just take a moment to say that are we? We are fast approaching like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
2 years in February.
Mm-hmm.
I That is mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to kind of think where we started and where we are now. Some of the guests that we've had on the podcast, like I am still incredibly flabbergasted. Um, I think as an artist, getting to talk to these individuals that also helps spur like my own creativity for things, like with Jinba Prey. Why not? Just try it. Try something new. Or Ming Tsai giving advice about trying new things of like um, he's got his Ming's Bings, which I now have in my freezer, or getting
Oh.
his cookbooks and plating things in a particular way, or listening to Lindsay Stewart talk about her work with kids and her storytelling journey, or Laura Packer and her approach to her journey through storytelling. It's it's that kind of intake that keeps me coming back to the podcast. Like, not that you're not great, but like the just between you and me and this other person and us kind of talking in that format, and it's like, good God,
Yeah.
it is. I do have to ask. Not that this is going to go on record or like this is a recorded episode or anything, but who's been the guest of that keeps coming back into your brain? Like when you think back and you're like, man, that was a great episode.
Well, Lindsay Stewart is like the OG of that for me.
Mhm.
Because we've had a lot of recent ones that I would say, yes, that happens with. Um,
Mhm.
I, it's like what you said. I mean, I get something out of every single week. It's like it's become kind of a therapy to some degree because I am learning something every single week, no matter who the guest is, no matter how phenomenal or what, it, no matter how sensational the guest is, or no matter how, I don't know how to describe it. No one has been so horrible that we've struggled, I feel. Like I've never had
Mhm.
to drag answers out of people. Like we've had such an amazing run. Um
Yeah.
so I mean, like I said, Lindsay Stewart is like the OG of that. If I'm surprised that episode doesn't have more listens or views or whatever on YouTube than it has. It does have some, but what that episode did for me is, I mean, you got to go listen to it. Just listen to it. It's like an hour. Just take your hour and make that happen. It's worth it. Um, Otherwise, I don't know. That's tough because they've all touched me in some way. I can tell you what I learned and how it touched, what part of each episode touched my life somehow in for every single episode. And
You-
yeah, every single one. I mean, we could sit here. We've got what, 68 episodes as of right now that are published. We have a few unpublished yet. We're working on those. Or I could sit here and go through each one. But this interview isn't about me, so I'm going to turn this question back on you.
No. um, I would say Lindsay Stewart definitely is. Um, my God, there have been so many. I think I think for me, the Jinbo Prey episode is like one of the like top tier episodes.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard not
excuse
to
me.
say that about all of them for some reason. For me.
Yeah,
Like
because
I'm
we
not,
get
oh,
oh,
sorry.
okay.
We get what?
Well, we get those moments of, oh my gosh, yes, let me tell you about this.
Mhm.
And those kind of moments where you like watch them sparkle a little bit and you just kind of go, yes, keep going. I'm just gonna sit here lightly with my tea and I'm just gonna
Mhm.
intake this beauty that's happening right now.
Mhm. Last week was quite a remarkable episode, which was the Bob Mayer and Jenny Cruzy episode because he dropped probably the biggest bomb that's ever been dropped for us. And that was that he had finished a book that she had started and he hadn't told her. And he decided to tell her on the show. And that was remarkable for us to be part of.
Yeah.
Like the chat went crazy and yeah.
And then we found out that they haven't like seen each other on camera in years, but then they both agreed to do the podcast.
Yeah, because they don't know. They talked about how they fight all the time, but I'm glad they didn't fight.
They picked at each other. They picked, but
They did,
lovingly.
yeah. Yeah, it was controlled. I don't know. There's one day we'll go through each episode and we'll like review it. We should do that maybe once a year. That should be like our New Year's thing where we go, okay, this is what we learned from all the episodes of that year.
Hmm.
That might be a good recap show to do.
Oh, or okay. What if we did what if we made it like a commercial and we say like we have a line from each show that we did. I learned like the Jinbo Prey episode. Everybody can sing. From the Ming Sai episode, we have something and we just kind of like put it in just like a little like thing that we learned
Yeah,
and make it into like a 30-second clip.
we could. Real quick, Kaz in the chat. Okay, we have a couple of comments. But Kaz, I want to know. You said so. Basically, you guys every podcast. I didn't see that comment right away. Tell me what that was in reference to. And then Boots on the Trail said, "Real question is, when are we going to get more live Shakespeare on the podcast?" And the answer is Sunday, October 8th, Midsummer Night's Dream. We haven't released the time yet, but I'm going to say it's going to be early afternoon.
Okay.
Seeing the sparkles. Thank you. That's so nice. Anyway, so to move on, I have like just a couple more questions that I wanted to make sure we fit in.
Sure.
And what is something about the podcast that makes you go, yes, this is why I show up every week and do this?
Every time it is the people. I am always so impressed and awestruck by the people that we meet. Whether I know their work intimately or whether I am meeting them for the first time or have just done like my research for the podcast, meeting them as a person and as a fellow artist, there's that magic that happens in meeting them. And then you just start talking and you talk through creative ideas for things. And it's puts my faith in humanity to just be able to talk to them because they are just humans. There's never been anyone with an act or an angle for something. They've just shown up and been themselves. And being able to talk to somebody that's not a social media presence, that's not trying to just talk about their art like it's like shameless self-promoting of some sort or something like that, but really to talk to us like human to human is one of my favorite things. And that is what I love about the artists that we've had so far, is that they've just been very much themselves. And I love that.
Yeah. Human beings.
Let's see. It's why I keep coming back. You guys are absolutely amazing. And I love, but the absolute love and sparkle you guys give each and every person that comes on this show. You create a beautiful space that's pure and kind. It's so comfy being with you guys. Oh, cause. Aww.
Yeah. Thank you, Kaz. We get some good feedback, which is very helpful and validating. Oh, I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
What is a secret about you or the podcast that listeners don't realize or don't know that happens, whether it's behind the scenes or just off camera or something you I don't know. I don't know how to ask the question because it could be anything.
That occurs like crazy when the camera's not rolling.
I don't know. Like, it could be something like a ritual you have, or some kind of like mantra you have, or something you have secretly have a fidget spinner off camera, or you have to do 10 jumping jacks in order to calm yourself down before you get on camera, or
um,
what's one thing that like the people who watch and people who listen probably don't realize happens.
oh wow. Okay. Um,
Okay, while
I
you think about it, I'm gonna say
I
mine.
okay. Okay.
I cannot not have something in my hands. I actually have from Mark and Elva Reines. They made me like a dice tray, and I have it here on my desk in front of me. I would hold it up, but it's full of little fidgety things that I'm constantly playing with, and you can't see it right now. I have one of these little 3M. I don't have the sticky back, but it's a little plastic hook that you can hang on your wall, and I've been sitting here playing with it the whole time. Also, I have other things. Every episode is a different thing. I should probably hold it up for people to see, so they can see that I have like a binder clip, and I try to pick things that are going to be silent, because every now and then it's not silent. Like this, I have this tape measure, and it's like it's one of the clicky kinds that
Yeah.
that yeah, can't play with that anymore because it made noise. And so there's always some little fidgety thing that I've got going on down here. I should every episode I should just hold it up once in a while, like this is a little enamel pin from Dr. Kaboom at the Edinburgh Fringe Fest 2022. Trey, so Josh said
I
Trey gets sadistic glee from kicking me off the show. There's a secret.
that is true. That is very true. Like we'll have an end of like an after show kind of discussion where Josh, our moderator, will come on the chat and talk with the guest with us, and then somehow we'll kind of like end up talking for I don't know like 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, just about the podcast or how excited we are. And then right when I'm about to leave and I'm saying my goodbyes to everybody, I'm just like, oh yeah, one more thing. And then I kick Josh out of our chat and then I just leave.
Yes, you do. That is accurate.
But is it any less funny? No.
No. Kaz,
Love you, Josh.
Yeah. And Kaz, thank you. She said, I knew Emily was adorable, but now Emily is even more adorable. This is my little tin of butter cookies. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to hold this up. I'm derailing this whole episode. Oops, the paper fell out. See, there's the little paper that goes in. Those are little butter cookies.
That's cute.
They are plastic, though. They're not edible.
Dang.
Yeah, but you thought it was going to be a sewing kit, didn't you?
No,
anyway.
I didn't. Because I know that a pin, like a regular like sewing needle, maybe not fit inside of that, nor would a normal spool of thread.
Right, it would be a challenge. I should maybe find a way to put a tiny little mouse-sized sewing kit in there.
Okay, what's really funny is, have you ever played Resident Evil 4, I think it is?
No.
There's a character companion that you have to keep alive throughout most of the game named Ashley.
Oh.
In the original GameCube version, she had this really high-pitched voice, and she would exclaim things like every 5 seconds or so, just like, and so somewhere, somehow, someone gave her the name Mousely instead.
Oh.
And it became a whole Twitter thing with the remaster of Resident Evil 4. And so all you saw was like this character get mouseified. So between between Seth and I, we've now given Mousely a voice, which is probably a secret that as soon as the podcast finishes, like I go upstairs and I go to give him a kiss on the cheek and Then I start talking like Mousley.
High pitched.
Yeah, almost like Gonzo, but like very, very, very high pitched. I'm not going to do it here because I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of having that recorded.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Did you think of something, or are there no secrets other than that you kicked Josh off the show frequently?
Honestly, I've just been thinking about what I was going to say next, which was everything that has come out of my mouth so far. So I think I'm kind of an open book of secrets. Like, I really don't have any to share. I think the audience gets everything that they see on camera.
For the most part, yeah. We're way goofier off camera than we are on, and I think it came out a little bit. Well, in this episode, a little bit, but in the Dixie Dixon episode, it came out.
Oh,
Like,
God,
that's a
yeah.
little bit more how we are. Like, we get way more. Like, not that we can't be serious, but we're less goofy on the show.
Yes.
I don't know how else to say that, but that's probably accurate.
Us doing a recording for a commercial is easily like an hour to 2 hour process because we're sitting there just making each other crack up half the time.
Yeah. When we asked Eric and Jaleesa from Storyboard Delights to join us, I was like, all right, we have to try to stay serious so that we can get through this. And at one point, even they were like, our kids have to eat dinner. We have to go. And I felt so bad because I was like, we derailed this whole thing, but it was so fun.
No, but oh my God, we were laughing so hard. Speaking of which, I think that's another really incredible episode. So please go back and listen to Eric and Jaleesa with Storyboard Delights. Also, their chocolate is incredible. Their bonbons are particularly of note. I also highly recommend Big Daddy's D's smoked dark chocolate bar. And yes, that is.
It just sounds like you're not going to say chocolate bar.
And that's the point. Thank you. Good night. But in all reality, like the podcast, kind of getting back to your question earlier, the podcast itself has meant quite a bit to me, and it's only grown. I didn't see what the potential of it was at the very beginning, and then as we got cause, as we had Caponis, as we had just a lot of different people kind of join us along the journey. Our producer Sandra, who like, God bless you, Sandra. Have that in recorded format now. God bless you. You are heavenly.
Truly divine.
You are truly divine. So there's so many people that have joined us along the way for this podcast that have made it so worthwhile. And I think that's contributed to us and our success so far and how we are continuing to go. At this point, we've hit a little over 12,000 listens amongst all our platforms. It's Southern Trey coming out in force. Look, I am tired, and when I am tired, my accent comes out in full force. You're welcome. So we've hit over 12,000 listens. We've hit some incredible milestones. And I don't think that I could have done that without you or our listeners.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Even so yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's incredible to look at almost 2 years on the podcast and go, wow. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you go, we did that.
Yeah. We're definitely part of it. I have to like talk myself into that mentally. Like this is just something I arrange. Like somehow I didn't make it happen. So I have to talk myself into like, no, this is part. Yeah. It's really special to all of us. And I hope it's just as special to our listeners as it is to us, because what we get out of it every week feels a little selfish, at least for me. And I really hope that everybody else gets as much out of it, at least that as I do. So,
Mhm.
my last question for you
Okay.
is if you'll sing "Baby Got Back."
How did I know that this was coming? Oh my God. Yes, I will.
I mean, you
Hold
don't
on.
have to, but
Oh no. No, no. It has been requested. The gauntlet has been thrown.
okay.
So, uh, I will I will get through the first verse. It is a rather lengthy song, so I will get you through the first verse.
Yeah, I was gonna
Question
say
is,
just yeah, first verse.
do you want the introduction as well?
I mean, yeah.
All right.
Give us the theatrical version of the first verse.
Oh my God. Becky, look at her butt. It is so big. She looks like one of those rap guys' girlfriends. But you know who understands those rap guys? They only talk to her because she looks like a total boop. Okay. I mean, her butt, it's just so big. Ugh, I can't believe it. It's just so round. It's like out there. I mean, ugh, gross. Look, she's just so black. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny that when a girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get sprung. Want to pull up tough because you notice that butt was stuffed down deep in the jeans she's wearing. I'm hooked and I can't stop staring. Ooh, baby, I want to get with you and take your picture. My homeboys tried to warn me, but that butt you got makes me so horny. Ooh, rumpa smooth skin. You say you want to get in my bins? Well, use me, because you ain't that average groupie. I seen her dancing. To hell with romancing. She's sweat, wet, got it going like a turbo vet. I'm tired of magazines saying flat butts are the thing. Take that average black man and ask him that. She got to pack much back. So fellas, yeah, has a girlfriend got the butt? Hell yeah, tell him to shake it, shake that healthy butt. Baby got back. You're welcome.
So that's the second time you've done that on the podcast, and the first one was in the Jason Hansen episode, which has a beautiful clip on our TikTok channel. If you want to go see that, just that. Kaz said that's her new ringtone, and
Okay.
I think it might be mine. I think we ought to just like release this recording on Spotify like separately. Also, those lyrics are horrible.
They are so sexist
They're so
and
bad.
so terrible. Oh my God.
Oh
But the
my.
way that, huh?
Just oh my. Sorry.
The way that my brother would play this, I was 6 or 7 when he would like play this in the car with me, and this is how it became one of my now favorite songs. Um, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Here we are.
So, real quick advice for someone just starting out.
Oh, doing like,
Oh, let's pick something.
yeah.
How about podcasting?
Podcasting.
Or would theater, or is it easier for you to answer that for theater or music?
I would say it's easier for me to do it with theater or music. Um, for theater or music, sing for yourself. Don't sing for other people. Sing for yourself. Sing because you want to have the joy of singing and that you get the opportunity to sing. Um, don't do it because you think it sounds good. Don't do it because your voice teacher talked you into it. Find ways to sing for yourself and to fuel your own desires. Otherwise, you're always going to look for other people for validation. And the only validation that you need is yourself.
Valid and awesome. Good words.
And my advice for podcasting, find yourself a Sandra. Thank you.
That's right. So I guess the only other thing I want to make sure everybody, I've going to just reiterate, you can find Trey online on YouTube and on Instagram under Orphetunes. Orphetunes. Why do I mess this stuff up? It's like important information and I can't quite ever get through it. Orphetunes, Orphytunes, on YouTube and on Instagram. Go follow those. And don't forget to watch on YouTube Eurydice. This episode, along with every episode, always forever, is in memory of Joe Capone, or Caponis, our moderator, fellow comedian, passionate encourager, and greatly missed friend. Find us pretty much wherever you tune into podcasts for updates, announcements, and more. Please follow us on social media under Modern Romantic. Please like, comment, follow, review on Apple Podcasts, and share us with a friend. Thank you, everyone. Have a sassy pants day.
Bye, everybody.